Welcome, dear friend, to this tranquil space. As you settle in, find comfort in your chosen place. Whether it's your bed, a cozy chair, or a quiet corner of your home. Take a moment to feel the support beneath you, the softness of your surroundings, and simply allow yourself to be. In a world that often rushes and demands, this time is a precious gift to yourself, an invitation to slow down, to soften, and to remember the deep well of peace that resides within you. Tonight, we embark on a journey inward, guided by the timeless wisdom of Buddhist mindfulness and gratitude. Our time together will unfold gently. First, we'll ease into a reflective segment, exploring the profound power of gratitude through Buddhist insights. Then, as your mind begins to quiet, I'll share 3 soothing stories, each woven with threads of ancient wisdom and peaceful imagery, designed to gently lull you towards slumber. Finally, you'll be carried even deeper into restful sleep by 30 minutes of soft, ambient music. There's nothing for you to do now but listen, breathe, and allow yourself to relax. Let go of any expectations, any tasks, any worries from your day. Just simply be here now. Tonight, as we prepare for rest, let's turn our attention to the profound and transformative practice of gratitude, seen through the clear lens of Buddhist wisdom. It's a practice that doesn't just make us feel good, but fundamentally reshapes our inner landscape, moving us from the grasp of overthinking towards a serene acceptance. This reflection is inspired by the Buddha's Guide to Gratitude by Becca Anderson, with a foreword by the Dalai Lama, and a truly insightful Lion's Roar piece titled Being Grateful, What the Buddha Taught. You can find full details on these wonderful sources in the description below. In these teachings, gratitude isn't merely a fleeting emotion or a polite thank you. It's a deep awareness, a mindful recognition of the interconnectedness of all things and the countless blessings, big and small, that flow into our lives. The Buddha's path to gratitude invites us to look deeply, to truly see the web of support and circumstances that sustain our very existence. Think, for a moment, about the simple act of drinking a glass of water. It seems so ordinary, doesn't it? But with mindful awareness, we begin to see the intricate web of conditions that made that glass of water possible. The rain that fell, the earth that held it, the sun that drew it into the clouds, the rivers that carried it, the unseen processes of purification, the person who made the glass, the journey it took to reach you, the hands that offered it, and your own body's thirst that makes it so refreshing. When we truly see this, gratitude naturally arises, not as an obligation, but as an overflowing of the heart. This practice of deep seeing, this mindful noticing, transforms our inner well-being. When we focus on what we have, rather than what we lack, the mind begins to shift. The anxious hum of overthinking, so often fueled by dissatisfaction or worry about the future, begins to soften. We cultivate a sense of sufficiency, of enoughness, right here, right now. It's like gently turning a dial away from noise and towards stillness. The Lion's Roar article beautifully articulates how recognizing this interconnectedness through gratitude naturally opens the door to compassion and peace. When we realize that nothing exists in isolation, that our lives are woven into the vast tapestry of existence, our hearts naturally expand. We see that the food on our table, the clothes on our backs, the roof over our heads, they all come to us through the efforts of countless others, seen and unseen. The farmers, the laborers, the designers, the transporters, their efforts are all part of our well-being. This realization dissolves feelings of separateness and fosters a profound sense of kinship. And with that kinship comes compassion. If we are so deeply connected, then the suffering of others is not so distant from our own. Gratitude, then, isn't just about feeling good. It's about being profoundly awake to the reality of our shared existence. It's a path that naturally leads to a more open, compassionate heart, which in turn brings a deeper, more enduring peace. As we move towards sleep, let's carry this gentle understanding. Let's remember that even in moments of perceived lack or challenge, there are countless unseen blessings supporting us. Every breath we take is a gift. Every beat of our heart is a miracle. Every moment of quiet is an opportunity to find that peaceful core within. Allow this understanding to settle deep within you, soothing any lingering thoughts or worries. You are held, you are connected, and there is an abundance of good always present, if we but choose to see it with grateful eyes. Once, in a faraway land, nestled beside a quiet village, lay a small, murky pond. Its waters were often still, their surface reflecting only a dull, overcast sky. The bottom was thick with dark, silty mud, a heavy, opaque layer that held the pond in its silent, earthy embrace. The villagers, in their daily comings and goings, would often cast a glance at the pond and then turn away, seeing only its cloudy surface and the unpleasant mire beneath. It was not a place of clear, sparkling waters or vibrant life in their eyes. They believed that nothing good or beautiful could possibly come from such a humble, neglected, and seemingly unpromising place. The very air around it sometimes felt heavy with the unspoken judgment of its appearance, a place of forgetfulness and quiet decay. Yet, within this very pond, undisturbed by the perceptions of the busy villagers, something extraordinary was patiently taking place. Deep within the heart of the thick, rich, dark mud, where sunlight could not penetrate and the world of the pond was silent and hidden, a tiny seed lay waiting. This was no ordinary seed. It was a lotus seed, carrying within its minuscule shell an ancient wisdom, an inherent knowing of its profound purpose. It possessed an internal blueprint for beauty that was immune to its humble, challenging beginnings. It had no direct sunlight, no clear, pristine water, only the encompassing darkness and the thick, nutrient-rich earth surrounding it. Yet, the seed was not deterred. It did not question its circumstances or long for a different environment. It did not complain about its lot. It simply was, and within that being resided the unwavering potential for magnificent transformation. The seed knew, in its own silent way, that its journey was an essential part of its becoming. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, a stir began within the tiny seed. It was a gentle awakening, a deep inner impulse to begin its journey. With a quiet, patient determination, it pushed a delicate, thread-like root downwards, anchoring itself even deeper into the very mud that seemed so inhospitable. This was not an act of resistance, but an act of profound acceptance. It did not fight its surroundings, nor did it try to escape them. Instead, it embraced the mud, drawing sustenance, stability, and nourishment from its seemingly undesirable foundation. It knew that the mud, rich with the decomposed leaves of seasons past and the minerals from the earth, was the very source of its life. This first act of trust, of utilizing what was present, was its most fundamental and important lesson. Then, a slender, almost invisible stem began its long, arduous journey upwards. This was a journey of immense courage and unwavering persistence. the stem stretched through the dense, unwelcoming murkiness, inch by painstaking inch, moving with a silent, graceful persistence towards the faint glimmer of light it could sense far above. It was a slow, deliberate ascent, demanding incredible effort from the tender plant, yet performed with a quiet, unwavering grace and an intrinsic understanding of its purpose. There were no complaints in its silent climb, no desperate struggles against its environment, only a steady, determined upward movement. Each day, it moved a fraction closer to the surface, absorbing what it needed from the rich, dark layers. It learned to find the path of least resistance, a subtle wisdom that allowed it to conserve energy for its great ascent. The stem encountered constant resistance from the mud. It experienced periods of profound darkness and immense pressure from the water above, which felt heavy and suffocating. Yet, it continued. The stem drew vital nourishment from the very mud that seemed to hold it captive. It was transforming what appeared to be a formidable obstacle into an indispensable source of life and strength. The mud was not an impediment. It was the essential medium for its growth. It provided the unique nutrients that a lotus needs. This hidden symbiosis was a testament to the profound truth that sometimes our greatest challenges contain our deepest resources, our most essential lessons, and the very fuel for our eventual flourishing. The darkness was not an end, but a necessary passage. As the stem grew taller, it passed through different layers of the pond. It felt the chill of the deeper water, the subtle shift in temperature as it approached the middle, and then a growing warmth as it neared the surface. It was a journey of gradual change, a slow, unfolding process that required endless patience. It saw no other lotus flowers. It had no guide but its own inner compass, its own innate wisdom to reach for the light. This solitary journey taught it the resilience that comes from within, the strength that is not dependent on external support but on an internal resolve to continue. It did not compare its journey to that of a tree or a bush or any other plant. It simply focused on its own unique path, its own upward trajectory. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of silent ascent, after days that turned into weeks and weeks into months, the very tip of the slender stem broke through the surface of the pond. It emerged into the open air and greeted the warm, radiant light of the sun for the very first time. And there, in a moment of breathtaking unfolding, slowly, petal by delicate petal, a magnificent lotus flower began to bloom. Its surface was exposed to the gentle breeze, the soft morning dew, and the full, golden light of the sun. It unfurled itself with a quiet confidence. Its petals were of the purest white, subtly tinged with soft blush pink at their elegant edges, utterly pristine and unblemished, a miracle of natural perfection. It was a miracle that seemed to stand in stark defiance of its origins. It was a miracle because it was born from the very thing that most people saw as foul and ugly. The flower was a testament to the power of inner purity, a purity that is not contingent on external circumstances. It was a radiant beacon of beauty, its exquisite form a profound contrast to the murky waters that cradled it and the dark mud that was its source. The air around it filled with a gentle, enchanting fragrance, a subtle perfume that was its own unique signature. Butterflies and industrious bees, drawn by its beauty and scent, began to visit its open bloom. And eventually, even the villagers, those who had always dismissed the muddy pond, began to notice. They approached cautiously at first, drawn by an irresistible curiosity. They had always overlooked this humble body of water, but now, seeing the radiant, flawless lotus, they marveled. A hush would fall over them as they contemplated its quiet perfection. How, they wondered aloud, could something so exquisitely beautiful, so pure and untainted, arise from such an unpromising, neglected place? The lotus, in its silent grandeur, didn't boast of its arduous journey, nor did it try to distance itself from the mud that was its source. It simply existed in its radiant and humble beauty, a powerful testament to its own inherent nature and the transformative power of acceptance. It was a living example of finding the good in everything. This timeless story, whispered through generations in many lands, reminds us that true beauty, true strength, and true peace can often, surprisingly, arise from the most unexpected and at times the most challenging circumstances of our lives. The mud in this metaphor represents the difficulties, the sorrows, the confusions, the disappointments, and the struggles that inevitably visit our lives, the very things we often wish to avoid, deny, or push away. But just like the lotus, we too can find a way to draw nourishment from these very experiences. we can root ourselves deeply in our present reality, patiently navigate through the periods of darkness and pressure, and emerge with a newfound purity, a deeper wisdom, and a more resilient spirit. The lotus teaches us a profound form of gratitude, not just for the clear skies, the gentle sun, and the refreshing breezes, but for the very mud that nurtured its life and provided its foundation. It teaches us acceptance, not just of the pleasant, the easy, and the comfortable, but of the challenging, the uncomfortable, and the difficult. The hardships in this light are not a curse but a blessing, a necessary part of the journey to becoming our most resilient and beautiful selves. It reminds us that our past, with all its misanthropes and imperfections, is not something to be ashamed of, but a fundamental part of the soil from which our future growth will spring. And it reminds us that within each of us, regardless of our past struggles, our present discomforts, or our perceived imperfections, lies the resilient seed of immense beauty, inherent strength, and unwavering peace. This seed is waiting patiently to bloom, given the right conditions of acceptance, awareness, and a willingness to draw strength from all of our experiences. The lotus's journey is a microcosm of our own journey towards self-discovery and inner peace. Allow the luminous image of the lotus flower to settle deeply in your mind as you drift. See it rooted in the earth, rising through the water and blooming serenely in the light. It is a perfect ancient symbol of finding the good in everything, of transforming hardship into profound growth, and of discovering inner peace even amidst outer chaos. Feel its calm strength permeate your being, and know that you, too, are capable of this same patient, beautiful journey. High on a serene, majestic mountainside, amidst a landscape of weathered rock and hardy flora, stood an ancient pine tree. It was a magnificent sight, its powerful silhouette etched against the sky, its bark gnarled and textured by centuries of existence. This tree had stood there for what felt like countless ages, its powerful roots deeply and inextricably entwined with the rocky, unyielding earth beneath, providing an unshakable anchor. Its strong, resilient branches reached ever upwards, spreading wide to embrace the vast, boundless sky above. Throughout its immensely long life, it had witnessed the unfolding of countless seasons, the vibrant awakening of spring, the lush abundance of summer, the fiery transformation of autumn, and the stark, hushed beauty of winter. It had endured the fierce, howling storms that swept down from the mountain peaks, bending but never breaking. It had basked in the warmth of endless golden summers, soaking in the sun's life-giving energy. It held within its very being the quiet wisdom of patience and the deep knowing that all things are connected in a grand, harmonious cycle. This ancient pine tree, in its long and silent existence, had cultivated a profound and unwavering sense of stillness and presence. It did not rush through its growth, nor did it allow itself to be consumed by worry about future storms or past droughts. It simply was, in every moment, fully inhabiting its existence. It embodied a quiet, powerful acceptance of whatever came its way, observing life's unfolding with a calm, unshakable equanimity. Its thick, fragrant needles seemed to hum with a quiet energy, a silent testament to its centuries of survival and growth. It had learned, over time, that its greatest strength did not come from fighting, but from yielding. Its branches, though strong, were not rigid. They were flexible, a masterpiece of natural engineering that knew how to dance with the wind rather than resist it. One crisp morning, a young sapling, newly sprouted from the earth nearby, looked up at the mighty pine with a mixture of awe and a distinct touch of fear. Its tiny, tender leaves trembled visibly in the fresh, cool breeze that swept down from the summit. "Oh, revered pine," whispered the sapling, its voice barely audible above the rustling of its own leaves. "How do you stand so tall and calm? The wind here is so strong." "It buffets my small, delicate frame with such force. It twists my tiny branches, and it makes me fear, constantly, that I will surely break into pieces." The young sapling felt its fragility acutely against the powerful, unseen currents of the air. It felt as if it were a helpless leaf on the water, at the mercy of every current. The ancient pine, with a wisdom born of centuries, rustled its deep green needles gently, a sound like soft, understanding sighs passing through its vast canopy. "Little one," it replied, its voice a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through the very air. The wind is not your enemy. It is not something to be feared or resisted with all your might. On the contrary, the wind is a profound teacher. And, in its own powerful way, it is a skillful sculptor. The pine's deep roots and strong trunk allowed it to speak with an authority that was both calming and reassuring. It was a voice that had heard the wind's roar and felt its gentle kiss for longer than the sapling could ever comprehend. The sapling, still quivering slightly, was utterly puzzled by this unexpected wisdom. A teacher, a sculptor, it repeated, its tone filled with disbelief. But it pulls at me with such insistence. It threatens to uproot me completely. It feels like a constant assault. Its perspective was limited by its lack of experience, by the immediacy of its own discomfort and fear. It could only see the wind as a force of destruction, not creation. The ancient pine, understanding the sapling's youthful perspective, chuckled softly, a low, rumbling sound that seemed to calm the very air around them. Indeed, it does, it affirmed. In your youth, and for a long time in mine, we tend to resist the wind. We see its force as a singular challenge, something to push against with all our might, something to conquer. But over immense stretches of time, little one, I learned a different way. I learned not to fight the wind, but to embrace it. When the wind blew fiercely, I didn't become rigid or stiff with resistance. The pine continued, its voice now softer, more instructive. I learned to sway with it, to move in harmony with its powerful currents. My branches learned to bend with remarkable flexibility without ever snapping. My roots, sensing the intensified pressures from above, instinctively reached deeper and deeper into the earth, not just to anchor me more securely against the wind's sheer force, but also, surprisingly, to find the hidden springs of vital water that the wind's very breath helps to uncover and make accessible. The pine was a living example of how challenges could lead to a deeper grounding and a discovery of hidden resources. It taught the sapling that what seemed like a threat was, in fact, an opportunity for profound growth. It is the wind, believe it or not, the ancient pine explained patiently, that carried the tiny seeds of my ancestors to this very spot on the mountainside, allowing our lineage to continue. It is the wind that brings the refreshing rains, carrying moisture from distant oceans across vast lands to nourish all life here. It is the wind that carries the warmth of the sun through the air, distributing it evenly. And it is the wind that clears the atmosphere after a long stillness, carrying away dust and pollutants, leaving behind a fresh, clean world. The pine's voice was filled with a deep gratitude, a recognition that the same force that challenged it was also the source of so many blessings. The pine paused, allowing its words to settle. The harsh winds, the very ones you fear and find so challenging, it explained, they serve a crucial purpose. They strip away the weak, the brittle, the unnecessary branches and leaves. They perform a natural pruning, allowing new, stronger growth to emerge in their place. They don't weaken me, they strengthen my core, making my trunk more solid, my wood more dense. And in their ultimate passing, after the storm has raged, they leave behind an exquisite clarity in the air, a stillness that is all the more profound, all the more appreciated for having known the very fury of the storm. The pine's wisdom was a testament to the transformative power of struggle, turning a perceived negative into a source of enduring strength. The young sapling listened intently, its trembling slowly, gradually subsiding as it absorbed the ancient wisdom. It looked up at the mighty pine, not just seeing its majestic height and immense size, but now truly noticing the elegant, graceful curve of its branches, the rugged, textured beauty of its bark, the deep, vibrant green of its resilient needles. It saw, with new eyes, how every aspect of the great tree had been shaped and refined by the very forces that the sapling had once feared and fought against. A sense of wonder began to replace its fear, a feeling of possibility replacing its sense of helplessness. So, what do I do when the wind comes? The sapling asked softly, its voice now imbued with a newfound humility and curiosity. It was ready to learn, no longer just to complain. "You breathe," the pine replied, its voice gentle and profound. "You trust in your own inherent strength, in your own ability to bend. You bend, but you do not break." You allow yourself to be shaped by the forces of life, knowing that transformation is part of growth. You recognize that even in the strongest gales, there is a hidden lesson, a deepening of your roots, a strengthening of your core, a profound gift disguised as a challenge. And when the wind whispers, as it often does when it is gentle, pay close attention. For it carries the deep wisdom of the mountain, the untold stories of distant lands, and the gentle, ever-present reminder that all things are in flux, all things are changing, and all things, even the seemingly difficult ones, have their purpose in the grand unfolding tapestry of existence. The pine's words were a final, calming lesson in acceptance, resilience, and the beauty of change. The sapling closed its tiny leaves, and when a gust of wind eventually swept through the mountain pass, it didn't resist with all its might, clenching its tender stem. Instead, it swayed just a little, allowing the force to move through its small frame. It remembered the ancient pine's lesson, the wisdom of embracing rather than fighting. And in that moment of yielding, it felt not fear, but a strange, quiet sense of interconnectedness, a subtle harmony with the very wind it had once so deeply resented. It felt, for the very first time, a sense of belonging to the mountain, to the wind, and to the vast world around it. The sapling finally understood that its strength was not in rigidity, but in grace. This gentle tale reminds us that life, like the ever-present wind, will inevitably bring both gentle, nourishing breezes and powerful, challenging gales. When we resist these forces, when we become rigid in our struggle, we often create more suffering for ourselves. But when we learn to bend, to accept, and to find the inherent wisdom and strengthening in every experience, even the most challenging and uncomfortable ones, we grow stronger, more resilient, more deeply rooted, and ultimately more profoundly at peace. We can discover the good, the lesson, the strengthening, the clarity, even in the storms of our lives. we learn to appreciate the unseen forces that shape us. Allow your breath to be like the gentle, consistent wind now flowing effortlessly in and out of your body, carrying away any lingering tension, any remaining resistance, and leaving behind only a quiet, deep calm. Feel yourself becoming more resilient, more peaceful with each gentle sway of your being, just like the ancient pine. In the heart of a dusty, parched village, where the summer sun was relentless and the earth often cracked with thirst, sat a very old stone well. It was a simple structure, worn smooth by the passage of countless hands, its stones covered in soft green moss that held on to the last vestiges of moisture. For generations, this well had been the lifeblood of the community. In the mornings, when the sun was still a gentle promise on the horizon, the villagers would gather here, their buckets clanking softly as they drew water. The well had an ancient, steadfast rhythm to it, a slow, patient heartbeat that gave life to all who came to it. Its cool, dark depths were a constant source of life, a seemingly endless reservoir of cool, clear water that quenched their thirst, watered their meager crops, and sustained their very existence. This well was more than a source of water. It was a gathering place, a quiet witness to the simple joys and hardships of village life, a symbol of unwavering presence in a world that was often harsh and unforgiving. One sweltering afternoon, a young man from the village named Kai came to the well, his brow furrowed with a deep, consuming worry. He was a kind young man, but his mind was in constant turmoil, perpetually anxious about the future. He worried about the coming rains, whether they would be enough to fill the reservoirs. He worried about his family, about the harvests, and about the endless, unpredictable challenges that lay ahead. His mind, like a restless bird in a cage, flitted from one concern to the next, never finding a moment of true peace. He saw the old well as a temporary fix, a fleeting solution to the moment's thirst, but he was always worried that one day its seemingly endless supply might dry up. He saw only the surface of the well, and he feared for the bottom. As he lowered his heavy bucket, the rope creaking softly in the still, hot air he heard a gentle, ancient voice speaking from the depths of the well itself. It was a voice that seemed to be made of the very essence of water and stone, a sound both liquid and solid, calming and deeply resonant. "Young man," the voice hummed, "what heavy thoughts do you carry with you today? You have a look of such deep worry, a thirst that water alone cannot seem to quench." Kai was startled. He had never heard the well speak before. "Who are you?" he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. "And how do you know my thoughts?" "I am the well," the voice replied, with a low, rumbling echo. "And I know your thoughts, because I have seen them in the faces of many like you for countless generations." "I have felt the weight of worries lowered to me in buckets, just as I have felt the lightness of gratitude in return. Your worry, young one, is that one day my waters will run dry and you will be left with nothing. Is that not so?" Kai nodded, astonished that his deepest fear had been so accurately articulated. "Yes," he admitted, his voice full of a weary sadness. "The world is so unpredictable. Droughts come, and the sun is so fierce. How can you be so certain, so patient, so full, when the world around you is so dry?" He felt a genuine curiosity to understand the source of its immense and profound stillness. The well's voice chuckled softly, a sound like a gentle ripple across its cool surface. "You are looking at the wrong thing, young Kai," it said. "You look at me and you see a finite amount of water, a single source that could one day be exhausted. But you must understand that my water is not just in me. My water is also flowing through me. I am not a closed container, but a living connection. My depths are not a stagnant pool," the well continued, its voice becoming clearer and more instructive. "My waters come from deep beneath the earth, from unseen rivers that flow patiently, quietly, and endlessly through the hidden veins of this land. They are replenished by the slow, steady seepage of mountain springs far above, and by the rains that soak into the soil, slowly making their way down to me. The water you draw from me today is not the same water my ancestors drew from me yesterday. It is always new always flowing, always being replenished by forces you cannot see from the surface. I am not full because I hold all the water in the world. The well explained, its tone imbued with a profound sense of peace. I am full because I am connected to a source that is greater than myself. I have learned to trust in the constant, unseen flow of life. I do not worry about the rains that may or may not come, because I know that my true source is far more ancient and reliable than the clouds in the sky. My peace and my abundance come from this deep knowing, this unwavering faith in the endless, unseen currents of life that flow into me and through me. Kai listened, his mind slowly unwinding like a tangled rope. He had spent so long looking only at the surface of things, at the immediate and visible circumstances of his life, and he had been consumed by the fear of their potential disappearance. He had focused on the well as a limited container, never as a part of a much larger, interconnected system of life. So, what does this mean for me? Kai asked, a flicker of hope entering his voice. How can I be like you? The well responded with a patient, watery echo. You too, young Kai, are not a closed container. You are a living connection. The life you have is not a finite resource that can be exhausted or taken away. It is a constant, flowing river. The love you have from your family and friends, the strength you have in your body, the wisdom you have in your heart, these are not stagnant pools. They are replenished by unseen forces, by the constant flowing connections that link you to all of life. You are connected to the earth that grows your food, the air that you breathe, the sun that gives you warmth, the very history that has shaped your being, the well explained gently. Every act of kindness you perform, every moment of peace you cultivate, every breath you take is a connection to this vast, unending source. Your well of peace is not a resource that can be emptied. It is a flow that is constantly being replenished by your mindful awareness and your open heart. Just as I am full because I am connected to a greater source, you can find your own inner peace, not by trying to hold on to what you have, but by learning to trust in the endless flow of life that is always, always available to you. The well's voice became a soft, steady whisper, like a lullaby of flowing water. Stop worrying about the surface of things. Stop worrying about what might be taken away. Instead, learn to trust in the wellspring within you. Learn to trust in the deep, unseen connections that sustain you. Your life, your inner peace, your joy, they are not in your possession. They are in the constant, life-giving flow. Just as I am full when you come to me, you too are full when you simply allow the endless water of life to flow through you. Kai stood by the old well for a long time, the rope to his bucket now forgotten in his hand. He looked down into the dark water, not with fear of its potential emptiness, but with a newfound reverence for its profound, hidden source. He listened to the gentle hum of the well, and in that sound, he began to hear the rhythm of his own heartbeat, the silent flow of his own breath. He felt, for the very first time, the deep, unshakable peace of simply being connected to all of life. His worrying mind, so accustomed to its frantic pace, was finally beginning to slow. He felt a profound sense of gratitude, not just for the water in the well, but for the well itself, for the lesson it had so patiently and profoundly taught him. He gently drew his bucket up, the rope moving with a quiet, purposeful strength. The water he brought to the surface now seemed to sparkle with a new, luminous quality. It was no longer just water. It was a symbol of trust, a reminder of the unseen flow that sustained him. He drank deeply, and the cool, clean water quenched not just his physical thirst, but the deeper, more profound thirst of his soul. This quiet story of the old well reminds us that our search for peace and security often leads us to focus on what is visible and finite: our possessions, our health, our relationships, and to fear their eventual loss. But true, lasting peace, like the well's endless water, does not come from clinging to what we have. It comes from learning to trust in the unseen, constant, and life-giving flow that is always, always present within and around us. It teaches us that our inner well of peace is not a stagnant pool, but a living, flowing source, replenished by every moment of mindful awareness, every act of gratitude, and every deep, gentle breath we take. As you prepare to drift even deeper into sleep, Let the image of the old well settle in your mind. Imagine yourself as that well, connected to a vast, unseen, endless source of peace and abundance. Feel that flow, gentle and steady, moving through you. Let go of the need to hold on to anything and simply trust in the flow of life. Let go of your worries about the future, knowing that you are perpetually replenished, always connected, and always deeply at peace. And now, as the last story settles into the quiet corners of your mind, you can simply let go. The journey of the lotus, the ancient pine, and the old well have come to their gentle conclusion. They remind us of the quiet strength that lies in embracing life's challenges, in finding our grace amidst the storms, and in trusting the profound, unseen flow of life. There is nothing more for you to do, and nothing more for you to hear, but the gentle rhythm of your own breath. Let any last thoughts, any final lingering worries, simply float away like leaves on a calm stream. Allow yourself to sink even deeper into the softness of your bed, feeling completely supported, held, and at peace. As you drift, your mind is now free to rest and wander in quiet solitude, carried by the gentle sound of ambient music that will accompany you on the rest of your journey into deep, restorative sleep. There is only peace here, only peace. Good night.